At a secluded gas station in rural Japan, a gang of loud, unruly bikers rolls in, causing chaos. Their laughter and jeers echo as they spot a lone figure in full assassin attire standing calmly by his motorcycle. Mistaking him for a cosplayer or a wannabe martial artist, they mock and provoke him. Little do they know, the man is a trained ninja assassin, silent, deadly, and bound by his code. When their antics escalate, they push him too far, setting the stage for a deadly reckoning. The gas station sat quietly at the base of a misty mountain, its flickering neon sign the only glow for miles in the darkened countryside. Inside, a lone attendant restocked shelves while faint music played from an old radio. Outside, the stillness of the night was broken by the thunderous roar of motorcycle engines. A gang of bikers pulled into the station, their loud laughter and crude jeers cutting through the quiet. They dismounted their bikes, their leather jackets and aggressive posturing making their intentions clear. They weren't here for gas. They were here for trouble. Standing near a sleek black motorcycle, a lone man dressed entirely in black filled his tank with calm precision. His attire was striking, a full ninja outfit complete with a hood and mask that obscured all but his piercing eyes. The bikers noticed him immediately, their interest piqued. "Yo, check this guy out!" one of them shouted, pointing at the man. "What's with the Halloween costume?" The others laughed, circling closer. The man didn't react, his focus remaining on his task as if their taunts didn't exist. His silent demeanor only seemed to encourage them. "Hey, ninja boy," the leader of the gang called, a burly man with a scar running down his cheek. He flicked a cigarette onto the ground near the man's feet. "You lost or something? This isn't a costume party." The man straightened, his eyes briefly meeting the leader's. He didn't speak, instead calmly capping his fuel tank and setting the nozzle back in place. The lack of response irritated the bikers. "What's the matter? Too scared to talk?" Another biker sneered, stepping closer. The ninja glanced at him but remained silent. The leader smirked, clearly enjoying the chance to assert dominance. "Why don't you take off that mask, huh? Let's see if you're as tough as you look." The bikers closed in, forming a loose circle around the ninja. The gas station attendant, watching nervously from inside, reached for the phone to call for help, but hesitated, unsure if the situation would escalate. The tension was palpable, the bikers' taunts growing louder and more aggressive. One of them lunged forward, trying to grab the ninja's shoulder. The move was met with lightning-fast precision as the ninja sidestepped, grabbing the biker's wrist and twisting it in a single fluid motion. The biker cried out in pain, falling to his knees as the others stared in stunned silence. "Whoa!" one biker exclaimed, stepping back. "What the hell was that?" The ninja released the man and took a step back, his stance calm and measured. His eyes scanned the group, silently daring them to make the next move. The leader snarled, his pride clearly wounded. "You think you're tough, huh? Let's see how tough you are when it's all of us against you." The bikers surged forward as a group, but the ninja was ready. Moving with blinding speed, he dodged their wild swings and countered with precision strikes. A flick of his wrist disarmed one biker, sending a knife skittering across the ground. A sweeping kick sent another sprawling, his helmet bouncing off the pavement. Within moments, half the gang was on the ground, groaning in pain. The remaining bikers hesitated, their confidence shaken. The leader cursed under his breath, gesturing for them to fall back. "This isn't over," he spat, glaring at the ninja. "You've messed with the wrong crew." The ninja said nothing, his silence more intimidating than any threat. The bikers reluctantly retreated to their motorcycles, their bravado replaced by unease. They revved their engines and sped off into the night, leaving behind their wounded comrades to limp after them. The gas station fell silent once more, save for the soft hum of the neon sign. The ninja turned back to his motorcycle, checking it over before preparing to leave. The attendant stepped outside, trembling but grateful. "Thank you," he said quietly, his voice barely audible. "You didn't have to do that." The ninja inclined his head slightly, acknowledging the gratitude without a word. He mounted his motorcycle and rode off into the night, disappearing into the shadows as quickly as he had acted. Inside the gas station, the attendant watched the taillights fade into the distance, a single thought running through his mind. Who was that man? The roar of motorcycle engines echoed through the narrow roads as the bikers sped away from the gas station. Their leader, Jin, clenched the handlebars of his bike, his scarred face twisted in anger. Behind him, the remaining gang members exchanged uneasy glances, their earlier bravado shaken by the silent man who had dispatched them so effortlessly. "That guy," Jin growled over the sound of the engines, "thinks he can humiliate us? We're not letting this slide." One of the younger bikers, Koji, hesitated before speaking. "Boss, are you sure? I mean, he took down Kenji and the others like it was nothing." Jin shot him a glare. "You scared, Koji? He's just some martial arts freak who got lucky. We'll show him what happens when you mess with us." The gang regrouped at an abandoned roadside diner a few miles away. The building was dimly lit, its cracked windows and peeling paint a testament to years of neglect. Inside, Jin barked orders, demanding that his crew plan their revenge. They had to restore their pride, and they weren't about to let some costumed loner get the better of them. "First," Jin said, slamming a fist on the table, "we find out where he's going. He couldn't have gotten far." The bikers nodded, though the unease lingered. They were used to intimidating others, not being on the receiving end. The memory of the ninja's precise strikes and unflinching silence haunted them. Meanwhile, the ninja rode through the winding mountain roads, his black motorcycle blending seamlessly with the night. He had no intention of engaging the bikers further unless necessary, but he was keenly aware of their growing hostility. His keen senses picked up the distant sound of engines. They were already on his trail. He pulled off the main road, parking his bike in a secluded grove. From his saddlebag, he retrieved a compact set of tools and traps, remnants of his former life as an assassin. If the bikers wanted to escalate the situation, he would be ready. Back at the diner, the gang had managed to track the ninja's route, thanks to a passing motorist who mentioned seeing a strange guy in a mask heading up the mountain. Jin smirked, his confidence returning. "Perfect," he said. "We'll corner him up there. No witnesses, no escape." The bikers mounted their motorcycles, the sound of engines roaring back to life. They sped toward the mountains, their headlights cutting through the darkness like blades. Unbeknownst to them, the ninja had already anticipated their arrival. As the gang approached a narrow stretch of road, the lead biker suddenly skidded to a stop, nearly losing control of his bike. "What the?" he shouted, pointing to the ground. Thin but sturdy wires had been strung across the road, forcing the group to halt. One of the bikers dismounted to inspect the wires, only to trip a hidden mechanism that released a burst of smoke. Panic spread through the group as the smoke enveloped them, obscuring their vision. Amid the chaos, a shadow moved silently, darting between the bikers. A sharp whistle cut through the air, followed by the clang of a small metal object landing at Jin's feet. He looked down to see a throwing star embedded in the dirt, its gleaming edge a silent warning. Jin's anger flared. "He's playing games with us! Spread out and find him!" The gang scattered, each biker nervously searching the surrounding area. The ninja, perched on a tree branch above them, watched their movements with calculated precision. He moved silently, taking out one biker at a time. Each encounter was swift and non-lethal. A pressure point strike here, a tripwire there. Within minutes, half the gang was incapacitated, groaning on the ground. Koji, trembling with fear, called out into the darkness. "We're sorry, okay? We'll leave you alone. Just let us go." Jin snarled, grabbing Koji by the collar. "Shut up. You think he'll let us off that easy?" Before Jin could say more, the ninja dropped down from the trees, landing silently a few feet away. His dark figure was illuminated by the biker's headlights, his presence both imposing and otherworldly. Jin froze, his bravado faltering. The ninja raised a hand, motioning for them to leave. His silence spoke volumes. It wasn't a plea, it was a command. Jin clenched his fists, his pride refusing to let him back down. "You think you're so tough?" he spat. "You don't scare me." The ninja tilted his head slightly, almost as if to say, "Are you sure about that?" Before Jin could act, the ninja moved. In the blink of an eye, he closed the distance between them, delivering a precise blow that knocked Jin's weapon from his hand. Jin stumbled backward, his confidence shattered. The ninja stood over him, unyielding and calm. "You've been warned," the ninja said, his voice low and firm. It was the first time he had spoken, and the words sent chills through the remaining bikers. The ninja stepped back, allowing Jin to scramble to his feet. Without another word, Jin signaled for his crew to retreat. The bikers hastily gathered their injured and fled, their engines fading into the distance. The ninja watched them go, his expression unreadable. He knew they wouldn't give up so easily. But for now, the mountains were quiet once more. The bikers regrouped at their hideout, a decrepit garage on the outskirts of a nearby village. The building was cluttered with tools, old tires, and the remnants of past misdeeds. Jin paced furiously, his gang sitting in uneasy silence. Bruises and cuts adorned their faces, a testament to the ninja's swift and precise attacks. "This guy thinks he can humiliate us?" Jin growled, slamming his fist onto a rusty table. "We're not running away like cowards." Koji, still shaken, spoke hesitantly. "Boss, maybe we should just leave him alone. He didn't kill anyone, but what if he could have?" Jin shot him a glare that silenced the room. "That's exactly why we can't back down. If we let this slide, everyone will think we're weak." As Jin ranted, the ninja was already tracking them. From a distant hilltop, he surveyed the garage through binoculars, noting the gang's numbers and movements. His previous encounters had been measured, designed to warn rather than harm. But their persistent hostility and reckless nature made it clear. They wouldn't stop unless forced. The ninja retrieved a compact toolkit from his motorcycle, assembling a series of small but effective tools. Smoke bombs, caltrops, and precision-throwing stars were among his arsenal. Each item had a purpose, refined through years of training. Back at the garage, Jin rallied his gang, detailing a plan to lure the ninja into a trap. "We'll set up at the crossroads near the village," he explained, pointing to a map. "Block his route and surround him. This time we bring real firepower." Several gang members exchanged uneasy looks but nodded in agreement. Their loyalty to Jin outweighed their fear. For now. As they mounted their bikes and roared off toward the crossroads, the ninja followed silently, moving through the forest like a shadow. He anticipated their trap, adjusting his approach accordingly. At the crossroads, the bikers set up their ambush. Two blocked the main road with their motorcycles, while others hid in the surrounding trees, armed with makeshift weapons. Jin stood at the center, clutching a crowbar and waiting impatiently. "Where is he?" Jin muttered. "He has to come through here." Unbeknownst to them, the ninja had already arrived. From his perch high in the trees, he observed the gang's positions, noting their weaknesses. He moved swiftly and silently, disabling their bikes one by one. Fuel lines were cut, tires punctured, and engines rendered useless, all without a sound. Koji, stationed near the edge of the trap, noticed the subtle movements in the shadows. "Boss," he whispered into his radio. "I think he's here." "Good," Jin replied, gripping his crowbar tighter. "Get ready." The ninja struck first, dropping a smoke bomb in the center of the ambush. The thick, acrid smoke spread quickly, disorienting the bikers. Panic erupted as they stumbled blindly, calling out to one another. "Stay together," Jin shouted, coughing. "Don't let him pick us off." But it was too late. The ninja moved like a ghost, using the cover of the smoke to disable his opponents. One biker felt a sharp tap on his shoulder, only to be swept off his feet by a silent figure. Another swung wildly with a bat, only to hit thin air before being disarmed in a flash. Within minutes, half the gang was incapacitated, groaning in pain on the ground. The remaining bikers, including Jin, regrouped at the center of the crossroads, their weapons raised defensively. "Show yourself," Jin demanded, his voice shaking slightly. The smoke cleared, revealing the ninja standing atop a fallen tree. His silhouette was imposing, his black attire blending with the night. He stepped forward slowly, each movement deliberate and unnerving. Jin clenched his fists. "You think you're untouchable? Let's see how you handle this." He charged at the ninja with his crowbar raised. The ninja sidestepped effortlessly, delivering a precise strike to Jin's wrist that sent the weapon clattering to the ground. Jin stumbled but quickly recovered, throwing a wild punch that was easily countered. The ninja struck again, this time sweeping Jin's legs out from under him. The remaining bikers hesitated, their fear palpable. One by one, they dropped their weapons and backed away, unwilling to face the same fate as their leader. Jin, lying on the ground and clutching his bruised wrist, glared up at the ninja. "Who are you?" Jin spat, his voice laced with defiance. The ninja didn't answer. Instead, he stepped back, his silence speaking volumes. His message was clear. This was their final warning. Jin scowled, his pride wounded beyond repair. "This isn't over," he muttered, struggling to his feet. "You'll pay for this." The ninja watched as the gang retreated, their injured leader hobbling alongside them. He knew their threats were empty, for now, but their persistence hinted at something deeper, something more dangerous. As the bikers disappeared into the night, the ninja remained at the crossroads, scanning the area for any lingering threats. Satisfied that the danger had passed, he vanished into the forest, leaving no trace of his presence. The bikers regrouped at another hideout, this time an abandoned sawmill nestled deep in the forest. The air was heavy with tension as they patched their wounds and whispered among themselves. Jin sat apart from the group, his pride as bruised as his body. He stared at his trembling hand, recalling how easily the ninja had disarmed him. "He's not human," one of the bikers muttered. "No one moves like that." "Maybe he's some kind of ghost," another added, glancing nervously at the shadows that crept along the walls. "This place is cursed." Jin slammed his fist against a metal barrel, silencing the group. "Enough of that. He's just a man who's about to learn what happens when you mess with us." Unbeknownst to the gang, the ninja was already closing in. From a high perch in the trees, he watched the sawmill carefully, mapping every entry and exit. His calm demeanor belied the storm of thoughts racing through his mind. These bikers were relentless, their reckless actions threatening the peace he sought to protect. He knew their humiliation wouldn't be enough to deter them. They needed to be completely broken. He descended silently from the treetops, moving closer to the sawmill. With each step, his training guided him, every movement precise and deliberate. The night was his ally, its shadows cloaking his approach. Inside the sawmill, Jin was formulating a plan. "We're not waiting for him to come to us," he declared. "We're going to draw him out." "How?" Koji asked, his voice laced with doubt. "We'll split up," Jin said. "Flush him out like a fox in a hunt. He can't be everywhere at once." Koji hesitated, fear etched on his face. "What if he's already here?" Jin glared at him. "Then we make him regret it." The bikers fanned out, flashlights cutting through the darkness as they searched the perimeter. The sawmill's creaking floors and rusting machinery added to the eerie atmosphere, their echoes amplifying every small noise. The ninja used this to his advantage, creating subtle distractions to misdirect his pursuers. A sudden clang of metal drew one biker toward a stack of old tools. As he approached, his flashlight flickered, and the beam illuminated a shadow that darted behind a pillar. Heart pounding, the biker swung his flashlight frantically, only to feel a sharp tap on the back of his neck. He collapsed, unconscious, as the ninja disappeared into the shadows. One by one, the bikers were taken out. Each encounter was swift and silent, leaving no trace except for the groaning bodies left behind. The remaining gang members grew increasingly paranoid, their bravado crumbling under the weight of their fear. Jin, sensing the shift in morale, barked orders to regroup, but when only a handful of his men returned, his frustration boiled over. "Cowards!" he shouted. "You're letting him pick us off." "He's not normal," Koji said, his voice trembling. "I saw him move. It's like he's everywhere at once." Jin sneered. "Then we force him to come to us." He gestured toward the center of the sawmill, where the gang's motorcycles were parked. "Set the place on fire," he ordered. "Let's see how good he really is." The bikers hesitated but obeyed, dousing the area with gasoline and lighting a match. Flames erupted, their orange glow illuminating the sawmill and casting long shadows across the walls. The heat was intense, the air thick with smoke. Jin stood at the center, crowbar in hand, waiting for the ninja to appear. As the fire spread, the ninja made his move. From above, he dropped into the circle of flames, his figure backlit by the inferno. The sight was both terrifying and awe-inspiring, his black attire blending with the smoke as he moved toward Jin. Jin swung his crowbar wildly, but the ninja dodged effortlessly, his movements fluid and precise. With a single strike, he disarmed Jin, sending the weapon clattering to the ground. The gang leader stumbled, his confidence shattered. "You should have stayed away," Jin spat, his voice filled with desperation. The ninja stepped closer, his gaze unyielding. "You were warned." Before Jin could respond, the ninja incapacitated him with a calculated strike, leaving him on his knees. The remaining bikers watched in stunned silence, their weapons slipping from their hands. The ninja turned to them, his posture calm but commanding. "Leave," he said, his voice low and firm, "and never come back." The bikers needed no further encouragement. They scrambled to help their fallen leader, dragging him out of the sawmill as the flames continued to consume it. The ninja watched them go, his silhouette framed by the roaring fire. As the last of the bikers disappeared into the forest, the ninja turned and disappeared into the night, leaving the burning sawmill as a symbol of his victory. The quiet returned, broken only by the crackle of flames and the distant sound of retreating motorcycles. For now, peace had been restored, but the ninja knew this was only the beginning. The ninja moved through the forest as dawn broke, the glow of the burning sawmill fading behind him. His mind, usually focused and steady, drifted to memories long buried. The events of the night had awakened something he had tried to suppress, a part of himself that he had sworn to leave behind. Years ago, he had not been the solitary protector he was now. He was part of a secretive ninja clan, trained from childhood in the art of assassination. Their purpose was not just survival, but precision, secrecy, and total mastery of combat. He had excelled, his discipline unmatched, his skills revered among his peers. Yet the clan's missions grew darker, their objectives veering into moral ambiguity. One mission haunted him more than any other. A corrupt official had paid the clan to eliminate a rival, an honorable samurai who had sought to expose the official's treachery. Though he carried out the task with his usual efficiency, the guilt lingered. He had taken the life of a man who stood for justice, a man whose only crime was challenging corruption. His breaking point came during a mission to silence a whistleblower, an innocent civilian whose only sin was uncovering a truth too dangerous for the powerful. As he stood over his unarmed target, the man's pleas for mercy echoed in his ears. For the first time, the ninja hesitated. "You don't have to do this," the man said, his voice trembling. "You can choose." The ninja lowered his blade, leaving the man alive and vanishing into the night. It was an act of defiance that marked him as a traitor to the clan. From that moment, he became a hunted man, fleeing his former comrades and leaving behind the only life he had ever known. The years that followed were a blur of survival and self-reinvention. He shed his clan's name but kept their teachings, vowing to use his skills only to protect the innocent. He roamed from town to town, a ghost among the living, until he found solace in the quiet countryside of Japan. The gas station where the confrontation with the bikers had occurred was a place he often frequented, drawn by its simplicity and the kindness of its staff. He had thought he could live a life of peace there, away from the violence that had defined his past. But the bikers had disrupted that peace, forcing him to confront the part of himself he had tried to bury. As he approached his hidden motorcycle, nestled beneath the overgrowth, the ninja reflected on the night's events. The bikers had been reckless, but they were not irredeemable. Their leader, Jin, was driven by pride and anger, emotions the ninja understood all too well. He wondered if sparing Jin had been the right decision, or if it would come back to haunt him. His thoughts were interrupted by a faint sound, footsteps in the distance. He turned, his hand instinctively reaching for a throwing star. Through the trees emerged the gas station attendant, his face pale but determined. You saved us," the man stammered, his voice shaking. "Why? Who are you?" The ninja hesitated. It had been years since anyone had asked him that question. He could not answer truthfully without exposing himself, but he also couldn't deny the man a response. "I'm no one," he said finally. "Just someone who wants to protect what matters." The attendant nodded, though confusion lingered in his eyes. "They'll come back, won't they?" The ninja's gaze hardened. "Not if I can help it." The attendant hesitated, then reached into his pocket and pulled out a small charm, a symbol of protection from his family shrine. "Take this," he said, "for luck, or whatever you believe in." The ninja accepted the charm, his gloved fingers brushing against the intricate carvings. It was a simple gesture, but it reminded him why he had chosen this path. He offered a slight bow before mounting his motorcycle and disappearing into the forest once more. The ninja rode for hours, the wind rushing past him as he weaved through the mountain roads. His mind drifted again to his clan, wondering if they still searched for him, if they still viewed him as a traitor. The life he had chosen was lonely, but it was his own, a path carved from the ashes of his past. As the sun rose higher, casting its light over the countryside, the ninja felt a renewed sense of purpose. The bikers might return, but he would be ready. For now, the people he had vowed to protect were safe, and that was enough. The bikers were far from defeated. Humiliated, battered, and nursing their wounds, they regrouped at a hidden junkyard on the outskirts of the forest. Jin paced furiously, his pride stung deeper than his physical injuries. His men, visibly shaken, whispered among themselves, casting uneasy glances at their leader. "We can't keep going after him, boss," Koji said nervously, his hands trembling. He's something else. Something we're not ready for." Jin slammed his fist onto the hood of a rusted car, silencing the group. "We're not backing down. Do you think anyone will respect us after this? We're finishing this, one way or another." The plan Jin concocted was both desperate and reckless. They would lure the ninja into a trap by taking hostages, the gas station attendant and a young couple who had stopped there earlier that morning. The bikers stormed the gas station, their numbers diminished but their intent more dangerous than ever. The attendant resisted, shouting for the couple to run, but the bikers overwhelmed him and dragged all three of them into their truck. Jin's laughter echoed as he barked orders to his crew. "If that ninja wants to play games, let's see how he handles this." The ninja, meanwhile, had been monitoring the bikers from a distance. His heightened senses detected the commotion at the gas station long before he saw the plume of dust rising from their truck. He moved swiftly, his motorcycle a blur as he followed their trail. When he reached the junkyard, he parked his bike a safe distance away and began his reconnaissance. The layout was chaotic, piles of scrap metal, abandoned vehicles, and makeshift shelters scattered across the site. The bikers had tied the hostages to a support beam in the center, using them as bait. Jin stood nearby, crowbar in hand, barking orders to his men. "Spread out and keep your eyes open. He'll come for them. And when he does, we'll make him pay." The ninja observed from the shadows, his mind racing as he calculated his next move. The bikers were armed with pipes, bats, and chains, their confidence bolstered by the hostage's vulnerability. The ninja knew he had to act quickly and decisively to minimize the risk. Using his tools and stealth, he began setting traps around the junkyard, a length of wire strung between two stacks of tires, a smoke bomb carefully placed beneath a rusted car. Every detail was precise, designed to sow confusion and fear among the bikers. The first trap was triggered when a biker stumbled over the wire, sending a stack of tires crashing down. The sudden noise startled the group, and they turned their flashlights toward the commotion. "What was that?" one biker muttered, his voice shaking. "Stay focused!" Jin snapped. "He's here! I can feel it!" As the bikers fanned out to investigate, the ninja made his move. He darted between the shadows, using the chaos to his advantage. A smoke bomb erupted near one of the bikers, disorienting him and allowing the ninja to incapacitate him with a single strike. Another biker swung wildly at the air, only to feel a sharp pain in his leg as a throwing star embedded itself in his boot. He collapsed, screaming, as the ninja disappeared into the darkness. The remaining bikers grew more frantic as their numbers dwindled. Jin, refusing to show fear, grabbed the gas station attendant and held a crowbar to his throat. "Come out, ninja," he shouted, "or I'll start with him." The ninja emerged from the shadows, his calm demeanor unnerving the gang. He stepped forward slowly, his black garb blending with the night. "Let them go," he said, his voice low and steady. Jin sneered. "You think you're in control here? You're outnumbered." The ninja tilted his head slightly, as if amused. "Am I?" At that moment, another trap was triggered. A pile of metal barrels toppled over, scattering the bikers and causing a deafening crash. The distraction allowed the ninja to close the distance, disarming Jin with a swift kick and freeing the attendant with a precise cut of his bindings. The bikers attempted to regroup, but the ninja moved like a ghost, taking them down one by one. In the chaos, the young couple managed to untie themselves and ran toward safety. The attendant, though shaken, stayed behind, watching as his mysterious savior dismantled the gang with surgical precision. Jin, now alone, scrambled to his feet and grabbed a chain. He swung it wildly, but the ninja easily dodged, his movements fluid and calculated. With a final strike, the ninja disarmed Jin and knocked him to the ground. "You've lost," the ninja said, standing over him. "Leave, and never return." Jin glared up at him, his defiance wavering. He knew he had been beaten, but his pride refused to let him admit it. Finally, he spat at the ground and staggered away, his men following in defeat. As the bikers disappeared into the night, the ninja turned to the attendant. "Are you hurt?" he asked. The man shook his head, his voice trembling. "No, thank you. I don't know how to repay you." "You don't need to," the ninja replied. "Just stay safe." With that, he vanished into the shadows, leaving the junkyard quiet once more. The attendant and the couple stared after him, their gratitude etched on their faces. The ninja had restored peace, but he knew the fight wasn't over. Not yet. The bikers fled from the junkyard, battered and defeated, but Jin wasn't ready to give up. Humiliated in front of his gang, his pride burned hotter than ever. He rallied his men to regroup at a dilapidated warehouse on the edge of town, a place they had used for illegal deals and racing events. This time, Jin vowed, there would be no escape for the ninja. The gang, now reduced to its most loyal and desperate members, followed reluctantly. They had witnessed the ninja's capabilities firsthand and knew they were outmatched. Still, Jin's fiery determination and threats of retaliation kept them from abandoning him entirely. "We lure him here," Jin said, pacing as he outlined his plan. "And this time, we make sure he doesn't leave." Koji, now hesitant to speak, finally mustered the courage to voice his concern. "Boss, what if we just leave? We've already lost too much." Jin slammed his fist onto a rusted table, silencing the room. "No, he humiliated us. He thinks he can walk away after making fools of us? No one does that to me. To us. The ninja, meanwhile, tracked the gang to the warehouse. From a distance, he observed their movements, noting the increased tension among them. Jin's desperation was evident, and the ninja knew this would be the final battle. He had tried to give them a chance to walk away, but they had chosen their path. The warehouse was a sprawling, decaying structure with broken windows and overgrown weeds encroaching on its edges. The bikers had fortified the entrances, blocking doors with crates and setting up makeshift barricades. Floodlights illuminated the area, casting long shadows that danced eerily in the dark. The ninja crouched in the shadows, his breathing steady as he assessed the scene. His strategy would require precision and timing. This time, he would need to confront Jin directly to end the cycle of retaliation. As the night deepened, the ninja made his move. He began by disabling the gang's motorcycles parked outside, cutting fuel lines and puncturing tires. The gang inside heard the faint sounds of sabotage but dismissed them as the creaks and groans of the old building. The first strike came when a loud crash echoed through the warehouse. One of the barricades collapsed, sending crates tumbling to the ground. The gang scrambled to investigate, their nerves already frayed. "He's here," Koji whispered, gripping a metal pipe tightly. "Good," Jin replied, his voice cold. "Let him come." The ninja entered the warehouse silently, his presence undetected at first. He moved like a shadow, taking down two bikers with swift, non-lethal strikes. The remaining gang members grew increasingly paranoid, their fear causing them to lash out at every flicker of movement in the shadows. Jin, however, stood in the center of the warehouse waiting. His weapon of choice was a heavy chain, its links clinking ominously as he swung it in anticipation. "Show yourself, coward," he shouted, his voice echoing through the vast space. The ninja emerged from the darkness, his figure silhouetted by the dim light filtering through the broken windows. His calm, composed demeanor contrasted sharply with Jin's fury. "You were given a chance to leave," the ninja said, his voice steady. "You chose this instead." Jin sneered. "You think you can scare me? You're just a man in a mask. Let's see how tough you really are." Jin charged, swinging the chain with all his strength. The ninja sidestepped effortlessly, his movements fluid and precise. Jin's attacks were wild and aggressive, driven by anger rather than strategy. The ninja, in contrast, remained calculated, using Jin's momentum against him. The fight escalated, the sound of metal clashing against concrete filling the air. Jin managed to graze the ninja's arm with the chain, but his moment of triumph was short-lived. The ninja countered with a spinning kick that sent Jin sprawling to the ground. "You don't have to do this," the ninja said, standing over Jin. "End it now, and I'll let you leave." Jin growled, refusing to yield. He lunged again, but the ninja disarmed him with a swift strike, sending the chain flying across the room. Jin collapsed, clutching his side, his defiance finally giving way to exhaustion. The remaining bikers, witnessing their leader's defeat, dropped their weapons and raised their hands in surrender. The ninja turned to them, his gaze stern but calm. "Leave. Start over. This is your last chance." Koji stepped forward, nodding quickly. "We're done. We're done." The bikers helped Jin to his feet, their fear of the ninja outweighing their loyalty to their leader. As they limped out of the warehouse, Jin glanced back, his expression a mix of anger and shame. The ninja watched them go, his mind steady but reflective. He had won, but the fight had taken a toll, not physically but emotionally. He had chosen this path to protect, not to fight endlessly. Yet the world seemed determined to test his resolve. As dawn approached, the ninja left the warehouse, the echoes of the battle fading into the silence of the morning. For now, peace had been restored, but he knew that his journey was far from over. The sun broke over the horizon as the ninja arrived at the gas station, its neon lights now dimmed in the early morning glow. The building was eerily quiet, the usual hum of activity replaced by the aftermath of chaos. The ninja scanned the area, his sharp eyes noting the broken shelves inside and scattered debris outside. Though the bikers were gone, Their reckless rampage had left its mark. The gas station attendant stepped out cautiously, his face pale but relieved to see the ninja. "You came back," he said, his voice trembling. "Are they gone?" The ninja nodded, his silent assurance a source of comfort for the man. "They won't return," he said simply. The young couple who had been taken hostage emerged from behind the counter, their expressions a mix of gratitude and lingering fear. The woman stepped forward, clutching her partner's arm. "Thank you," she said softly. "We don't know what would have happened if you hadn't shown up." The ninja inclined his head slightly, acknowledging her words without lingering on the sentiment. He turned to the attendant. "Do you have everything you need to rebuild?" The man hesitated, glancing at the damage. "I think so, but it'll take time." The ninja surveyed the scene, noting the shattered windows and overturned shelves. He walked to the edge of the parking lot, retrieving a small satchel from his motorcycle. From within, he pulled out a handful of coins and bills, setting them gently on the counter. "For what's broken," he said, his voice low but firm. The attendant blinked in surprise. I can't accept this." "You can," the ninja replied. "Use it." Word of the ninja's intervention began to spread throughout the small village. Locals who had heard of the bikers' rampage arrived at the gas station to help clean up. They brought tools, supplies, and food, their collective efforts a testament to the community's resilience. The ninja stayed on the periphery, helping silently but avoiding unnecessary attention. As the villagers worked, conversations swirled about the mysterious figure who had taken on the bikers. Some described him as a hero, while others whispered about his almost supernatural abilities. "Do you think he's one of those old ninja warriors?" an elderly woman asked, her voice tinged with wonder. "Could be," a man replied, hammering a nail into a new shelf. "But whoever he is, we owe him." The ninja watched from a distance, his face unreadable beneath his mask. He had always avoided becoming the center of attention, preferring to operate in the shadows. But seeing the village come together brought him a rare sense of satisfaction. His actions had sparked something greater than vengeance. They had restored hope. Koji, one of the bikers who had fled after the confrontation, appeared at the edge of the gas station's lot. His hands were raised, and his expression was one of remorse. The villagers tensed, their murmurs growing louder as they recognized him. "I'm not here to cause trouble," Koji said quickly. I wanted to say I'm sorry. For everything." The ninja stepped forward, his presence silencing the crowd. He approached Koji, his movements deliberate but non-threatening. "Why are you here?" he asked. Koji swallowed hard. "I want to make things right. What we did, it was wrong. I didn't have the guts to stand up to Jin, but I'm done with that life." The ninja studied him for a moment before nodding. "If you want to atone, start by helping rebuild what you destroyed." Koji's eyes widened in surprise, but he nodded eagerly. "I will, thank you." Under the ninja's watchful gaze, Koji joined the villagers, pitching in to repair the damage. Though some were hesitant to accept his help, the ninja's silent approval was enough to quell their doubts. By the day's end, the gas station was nearly restored. The windows were patched, the shelves restocked, and the parking lot cleared of debris. The attendant approached the ninja as he prepared to leave, his gratitude evident in his eyes. "You've done more than we could have asked," the man said. "But who are you, really?" The ninja paused, his gaze fixed on the horizon. "No one," he replied. "Just someone who believes in protecting what matters." Without another word, he mounted his motorcycle and rode off, his silhouette disappearing into the golden light of the setting sun. The villagers watched him go, their hearts filled with a newfound sense of safety. As he rode through the winding mountain roads, the ninja felt a quiet sense of fulfillment. The bikers were defeated, the village was safe, and the gas station was thriving once more. But his journey wasn't over. There were always new challenges, new threats to confront. For now, he would savor the peace he had helped restore, knowing that his actions had made a difference. The village buzzed with stories of the mysterious ninja who had defeated the bikers and restored peace. His actions had sparked a ripple effect, drawing the community closer together. At the gas station, customers lingered longer, sharing rumors and speculations about the man behind the mask. He moved like a shadow, the gas station attendant recounted to a small group. Silent, precise, like he knew every step before it happened. "Do you think he's from one of those ancient ninja clans?" a young woman asked, her eyes wide with curiosity. "Maybe," the attendant replied with a shrug. "But whoever he is, we're lucky he came." Meanwhile, the ninja remained a ghost. He watched from the outskirts, his identity shrouded in secrecy. He had no desire for fame or recognition, only the satisfaction of knowing the village was safe. Still, the gratitude radiating from the community was palpable, and it gave him a rare sense of connection. Koji, the former biker, had become a regular at the gas station, doing odd jobs to make amends for his role in the gang's misdeeds. Though some villagers were initially wary of him, they gradually warmed to his efforts. Under the ninja's silent mentorship, Koji had begun to transform into a more humble and grounded individual. One day, as Koji repaired a cracked window, the gas station attendant approached him with a tray of tea. "You've been working hard," the man said. "Take a break." Koji hesitated before accepting the tea. "Thanks. I want to make things right." "You've already started," the attendant replied. "And I think the ninja sees that too." As the days passed, the ninja became a local legend. Travelers passing through the village often asked about the mysterious figure, eager to hear the tales firsthand. The villagers obliged, embellishing the stories with each retelling. "He took down the entire gang without breaking a sweat," one man claimed. "And he didn't even use a weapon," another added. "Just his hands and his mind." The ninja, listening from a hidden perch in the hills, allowed himself a faint smile. He knew the truth was less glamorous, but the impact of the stories was undeniable. They had inspired the villagers to take pride in their community and stand up to threats together. One evening, the ninja returned to the gas station after hours. The lights were off and the doors locked, but a small package sat on the counter, illuminated by the moonlight. Inside was a handwritten note and a carefully wrapped charm, a token of gratitude from the attendant and the villagers. "For our protector," the note read. "Thank you for everything you've done. We'll keep the peace you gave us." The ninja traced the lines of the charm with his gloved fingers, a rare warmth spreading through him. Though he preferred to remain detached, this gesture touched something deep within. It reminded him of why he had chosen this path, of the lives he could impact by using his skills for good. The peace didn't go unnoticed by the outside world. Law enforcement, hearing about the fall of the biker gang, began investigating the area. Their patrols increased, ensuring the gang wouldn't return. The villagers, emboldened by the ninja's actions, worked closely with the officers to maintain order. Jin and the remnants of his gang were spotted miles away, broken and leaderless. Rumors swirled that they had disbanded entirely, unable to recover from their defeat. Koji, now fully integrated into the village, avoided discussions of his past, focusing instead on building a new life. The ninja's influence extended beyond the immediate area. Travelers who heard the stories carried them to neighboring towns, spreading whispers of a protector who moved unseen. Some doubted the tales, dismissing them as folklore. Others believed, hoping for the day they might encounter the mysterious warrior themselves. For the ninja, the growing legend was both a blessing and a burden. He had no desire for recognition, but he understood the power of hope. If his story inspired others to stand against injustice, then perhaps the sacrifices he had made were worth it. As the village settled into its newfound peace, the ninja prepared to move on. He knew his presence would eventually attract more danger, and he had no intention of putting the villagers at risk. Before dawn, he left the charm on a small shrine near the gas station, a silent promise that he would always be watching. Riding into the mountains, the ninja felt the weight of his past lessen. The village was safe, and its people stronger than before. His mission there was complete, but his journey was far from over. Somewhere another village might need a protector, and when they did, he would be there, silent, unseen, and unwavering in his purpose. The winding mountain roads carried the ninja further from the village, his black motorcycle blending into the shadows of the early dawn. Though his mind remained focused on the road ahead, he couldn't ignore the lingering warmth of the villagers' gratitude. For years he had moved from place to place, ensuring justice in the shadows. But this time, something had changed. For the first time in years, he felt as though he had left behind not just peace, but hope. The stories of the ninja spread beyond the region, growing in scope with each retelling. In neighboring villages and towns, people whispered about the man who had defeated an entire gang without a single death. Some claimed he was a spirit, an avenger sent to right the wrongs of the world. Others believed he was the last remnant of an ancient ninja clan, returning to fulfill a forgotten oath. At a small roadside tea house, travelers swapped tales of the masked figure. "They say he never speaks unless he has to," one man said, stirring his tea. "And he's faster than the eye can see," added another. "He could probably dodge bullets if he wanted to." The owner of the tea house, an elderly woman with sharp eyes, chimed in. "Legends grow fast," she said, her voice steady. "But even legends start with the truth." The travelers fell silent, pondering her words. The truth, they realized, was more inspiring than any embellishment. A lone man had stood up for the innocent, facing danger without hesitation. Back in the village, the gas station had become something of a local landmark. Visitors stopped by, hoping to catch a glimpse of the ninja, or at least hear first-hand accounts of his deeds. The gas station attendant, once reserved and unassuming, became the de facto storyteller. "He came out of nowhere," he told a small group of wide-eyed children. "Didn't say much, but you could feel his presence. He was there to protect us." The children listened intently, their imaginations painting the ninja as a hero from a storybook. As the attendant spoke, Koji worked quietly in the background, repairing a fence damaged during the bikers' rampage. Though he rarely spoke of his time with the gang, his actions reflected his commitment to change. For the ninja, the road ahead was as uncertain as ever. He stopped briefly at a secluded shrine deep in the mountains, its stone steps overgrown with moss. Dismounting his motorcycle, he approached the shrine and placed the charm he had received from the villagers at its base. He knelt there for a moment, his head bowed in silent reflection. Memories of his past missions surfaced, some honorable, others filled with regret. The charm was not just a token of gratitude, it was a symbol of redemption, a reminder that he could use his skills to build rather than destroy. As the morning light broke through the trees, he rose and adjusted the straps of his satchel. His resolve was steady. Though he sought peace, he knew his journey would continue to be one of conflict. Somewhere someone else would need his help, and he would answer that call. In the months that followed, tales of the ninja's deeds began to blur the line between reality and myth. His presence became a symbol of justice, inspiring others to stand up for what was right. Travelers recounted tales of narrow escapes, daring rescues, and quiet acts of kindness, each attributing their experiences to the mysterious figure. Somewhere, a young boy tied a makeshift mask around his face, pretending to be the ninja as he practiced his moves in a dusty yard. In a distant village, a group of locals banded together to drive out a group of troublemakers, emboldened by the stories they had heard. The bikers, scattered and defeated, never returned to the village. Jin, once a fearsome leader, was reduced to a wandering shadow of his former self. The gang disbanded, their power broken by the ninja's unrelenting precision. Koji, having embraced his second chance, became a respected member of the community, quietly paying forward the lessons he had learned. The ninja rode through the countryside, his silhouette a fleeting glimpse against the horizon. To those who saw him, he was a reminder that even in the darkest times, there were those who fought for the light. He was a ghost, a protector, and a legend in the making. As the sun set behind the mountains, casting the world in hues of gold and crimson, the ninja disappeared into the shadows. The villagers who spoke of him would never forget his impact, and the legacy he left behind would endure long after his footsteps had faded. Somewhere, another village would face its own trials, and when it did, the ninja would be there, silent, unseen, and unstoppable.